This is DermaRite Recall. Let's get into it because this is the first time I've actually been affected by a recall, mostly because they say the population that should be most worried are those with autoimmune disorders, which would be me, and also because it's kind of impossible to avoid. DermaRite is the name of the company, and they issued the first recall back in August for a few of their foaming hand soaps and sanitizers. September 6th, they updated that recall list to include places like hospitals, retail stores, schools, nursing homes, pretty much any place in public. One of my first questions was, where does this even come from? So I did a little research. It's naturally occurring, but it's dangerous when it gets into spaces where it shouldn't necessarily be, which leads me to my second question. How does it even get into these products? And how does it stay alive in things like sanitizers and soaps? So I did some research, and I would just call it BCC for short, but I feel like that's still too long, so I'm just going to call it the bacteria. This bacteria is naturally resistant to the preservatives that they put into products that are supposed to keep them sterile. And it also loves water, so it can naturally occur in anything that's moist. The craziest thing that I learned is that it creates this slimy film. It's called a biofilm. It's like a slimy layer around it. It protects it and keeps it safe. So the bacteria itself can live inside the sanitizer or the soap. It can live and thrive and whatever. I've seen people post about this recall, but they don't add the actual list. So I'm going to add it. But I would suggest Googling DermaRite recalls to get the whole list with the lot numbers, just in case. According to them, there's been no reported sepsis cases. They have also said that sepsis is a possibility, which can unalive you. So better to be safe than sorry, especially because you can't guarantee that every store is going to do their due diligence and look up their lot numbers and see if they have the contaminated products and dispose of them properly. Just be cautious, especially if you have an autoimmune disorder. You're immuno-compromised, just be cautious. This has been crazy for me personally because I have been using a lot of soaps in my boo-boos. For the past few months, it doesn't matter how big, how small, about 60% of the time it's got infected. So I've been over cleaning, over disinfecting, over sanitizing. And of course, if I'm out in public and I accidentally scratch something or I get a boo-boo, anything, I'll go to the bathroom and clean it really quick. I've always felt like stores have the strongest soap and it dries it out and it heals it faster. I've made a habit of doing that. So when I saw this, I try to avoid it. I'll swipe away because at first I thought it was fear. I was like, nope, not for me, not for me. So I did my own research because the last thing I want to do is overstress. I always focus on things that are in my control. This happens to be in my control though. So I'm no longer going to do soap, period, because then I'm just going to be in my head. Well, soap in public. I started bringing my own soap, which is crazy, but you got to do what you got to do. I also wanted to add that it took an embarrassingly long time to realize what was going on. I already overshared, so whatever. I'll get pimples and they'll possibly get infected. I've been keeping my face very clean. And at first I thought maybe I was going through early menopause because I thought I was going gray. My hair was blonding, my eyebrows were blonding, and I just started to accept it because, again, that's not in my control. Then I realized I was using peroxide. I was using peroxide to kill any possible bacteria because, no, my pimples hurt. I'll get a bump and I'll know it's infected because it starts to hurt, to hurt to touch, or I'll just feel it. When I go like this, it hurts. So I'm like, it's infected. Great. So I used peroxide to kill any possible bacteria, and I was blonding. So I had to get myself out the way, and yes, I dyed my hair black. My daughter didn't even notice, but I noticed. I did it for myself. I was being a little cheap and I used the box dye. I know I need to retwist. But still, you can still see a little blonde right there. My daughter pointed that out to me, that I didn't do a good job. See, my sideburns are blonde. But yeah, it works for me. If you stuck around to the end of this video, I want to thank you because I was struggling making it. My throat is so dry from Shrugans, I guess. They finally identified which autoimmune disorder I have. It causes dry mouth. They think. Still not a definite answer. I struggle to get through this, and I don't know how my voice is going to sound. It might sound a little dry and monotone, but I told myself I was going to make this video to help other autoimmune girlies and boys out there. So I hope you learned something. If not, go do your own research. Just Google DermaRite Recall, and it should pop up.